I appreciate the topic we're on. One way to name it is that it's about assurance. We're talking about assurance. The larger context for that is our consideration of being a spiritual lightning rod. Fascinating physics around lightning rods that we've discovered, and lightning itself. We tend to see lightning as something that's coming down from above. You picture the Greek god Zeus, right? He was the god of lightning. And we picture him with a lightning bolt in his hand, and he's bringing lightning down to earth, which goes along with our general impression that lightning comes from above down, which it does, but it also goes from down up. So let's see if I can get it right. According to the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Commission or Administration, anyway, according to the federal government, the lightning we see is actually going up. It is a charge from the earth that's going up and connecting with a charge in the atmosphere. And it happens so quickly that our mind interprets it as coming from above down, but that's not really what's happening. So what is happening is that there's this charge going this way and a charge going that way, and they're reciprocating back and forth. There's a charge in the atmosphere and there's a charge in the earth. I loved coming across this symbol of our own function as human beings. I forget just how it happened, but I was thinking about this quality that at least some people have of being like lightning. Do you know people like that? Like you're just with them and they're just something that like comes down from some higher vibrational level. And it's just exciting to be with them. It's like fire falling from heaven when you're with them. And it comes in all kinds of textures and all kinds of personalities. But I was noticing this and thinking how important it is for particularly the work that we're doing. It's important for anybody to be connected up like that, right? But like if you're not connected so that you don't have life coursing through you, lightning coursing through you, you're just kind of running down the battery. But the battery gets recharged by the lightning. So it's important for anybody, but it's particularly important for us who are bringing something to the world. Like it's pretty hard to bring something important spiritually to the world with no lightning, right? It's like you're not really listening to that person. You're not really reading that person. You're not going to workshops with that person who doesn't have the lightning moving. So I was thinking about that. That's how I came across it. So I began to look a little bit at the physics of it, but then thought deeply about the spiritual dynamics of it and began to recall the 7 steps to the Temple of Light, which Karchere read from. Now, in that book, Yolanda doesn't talk about lightning, doesn't use that word. But to me, he was talking about the principles of lightning. He was talking about the fact that there is something that has to come up from our humanity that has to arise out of all that and open up to a connection with a higher level of vibration or a higher level of reality. I've been using three names for what's there in that higher level: power, presence, and wisdom. So when what's in us rises up, the energy in us rises up, and we make a connection to higher levels of being, to higher levels of our being, that's what we find. We find there's power there. It's the power of love. There's love there. And then there's presence. You might say there's divine presence, in the 7 steps to the Temple of Light, Yolanda uses this wonderful name for a divine being, for God, if you will. And the name is the wonderful one within. The wonderful one within. Well, that name's presence. And then there's wisdom. That's important. So when we open up, we touch a wisdom. And how do we know it's wise or it's intelligent? It's because when we open up to it and it comes through us, we become intelligent with the flow of that current through us. So I began to think how Yolanda spoke of those things and was doing some reading of the book. And he spoke about this matter of assurance. So did you catch this in what Keahi read to us? He tied assurance to the touching that we have with the wonderful one within. With, I forget the exact wording, but abiding in that presence, knowing that presence is what he named as bringing assurance. So this is halfway up the stairs, halfway down. So it's chapter 4 out of 7. So there's 3 before, 3 after. So at this pivotal point, he's talking about the lightning coming up, to use that way of speaking of it. What comes up from us that touches the presence, a higher presence of being. And he was saying that that's what gives us assurance. And then that assurance leads ultimately to the lightning coming down, to letting love radiate, as he says, without concern for results. So I want to talk about that for a few minutes here, about what it means to touch that presence and what the significance of that is. Very personal thing, right? For each of us, it's ultimately incredibly personal. Yes, if we're all sharing it, we could share it together. But still, when we experience it, it's unique to us. It's somehow, whatever word you want to use, internal to us. It's our connection. Connection is kind of a neutral word, but I would add a descriptor, I guess, to that word connection. It's a love connection. It's a love connection. Biblically, it's put, of course, it's biblical, so it's put as a commandment. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God. So it's put as a commandment, thou shalt, but still it's talking about loving. It's funny how it comes across, right? To have something that's about loving coming across as a commandment. You should. Something got lost in translation, I think, there. But it is a love connection. It is a love connection. It is something of the heart, something we connect through the heart. So I'm going to tie together I am tying together a few different elements. A while back, I remember Oren was big time in on this. We were talking about different names for the divine, different names for divine presence. And we were using some Hebrew names. I think somebody brought them out and used them a couple of weeks ago or something. But in any event, so we were using the Hebrew names, which I may not use right now, but we were saying that there is God Almighty, or that the reality of God is vast. Like vast. It's throughout the cosmos. It's huge. It's vast. And that's good. But there's something else that's really important for us and our love connection to that presence. If it's just vast, we're left here in our smallness, just in awe of the wonder of it all. but not necessarily feeling connected. And so much of what happens in religion and spirituality is like that. So we need not only as human beings to know the vastness of God, the vastness of divine presence, we need to know the nearness of it, the nearness of divine presence. That was one of the greatest gifts that Jesus brought to the world. So, moving away from whatever dogma there is about Jesus and what his life was about and all that, just ask you to consider this, that he himself, according to the story of his life, had this powerfully spiritual, intimate relationship with divine presence. It's recorded, and it's, what would you say? It's vivid and it's different than almost anything you can read that came before. First of all, the use of the word for divine presence. What was the word he used? The word he used is Father. Now, divine presence, it wasn't his daddy in that sense, but he used this intimate word, Father. Father, Abba, in Hebrew and Aramaic. But then if you read some of his prayers, and particularly the prayer of intercession, it's this passionate interchange like two friends. Right? He was speaking to a reality that was close to him, that he was intimate with. And then in what he shared with people, there was that sense of him being this divine presence close to them. Like he was inviting people to share that. And whatever you might want to think about Christianity today, still present within Christianity is that feeling that Jesus is there for you, that you could call upon him. He's not just out wandering about the universe, taking care of important things. No, he's there for you, right present for you. So now we're speaking about just the thing that Yolanda was speaking about in this chapter on assurance. He said, assurance comes from that. Assurance comes from that intimacy. So in the face of whatever is happening in your life, whatever is going on, however challenging, however awful, he was saying, you have assurance in that because in some way you turn away from it. You're not thinking about it. You're not thinking about the results of what's happening, the results that are all around you or that might be all around you. You're not thinking about that. As he put it, you've gone into your closet. You've gone into that personal space, that private space of your own personal love connection with that beautiful spiritual presence. You've turned to it, you've opened to it, and now you're fully engaged with that. You're in your closet, never mind everything else. You're engaged with that. And when that happens, and when you find out that your life is about that, it's about connecting to that, it's about loving that, and then it's about serving that, meaning it's about taking whatever comes out of that relationship, whatever you receive, and doing something with it, passing it on, giving it to the world, living it. You're living out of the assurance that comes from that personal connection, from that love connection, that spiritual intimacy. So that's the lightning going up, that love response that naturally comes out of us. That's our lightning up. And so the story of Jesus is this, it contains the story of his lightning going up to his Father. So just as with physical lightning, the lightning comes up and then the lightning comes down. That's the love radiating through us. Let love radiate through us without concern for results. So once the lightning is truly gone up, there is the pathway for it to come back down in and through us powerfully into the world in which we live.